Today's video, we're going to talk about how to generate large corporate customers, aka whales or big time customers through Google Ads. This is a how-to instructional video on how to exactly do it. I'm going to tell you step by step how this is going to be set up through your Google Ads account so you get customers that are 5, 10, 20 times as big as you're getting now, and the 4 different actual ways that you can do it, of which some of these work a little bit better than others, depending on what situation you're in. And I'm going to go through what each one of those situations would be, so you walk away from the video the exact information you need to be able to set this up for your business. I will start off by saying that this is a complete game changer for a lot of you guys that are trying to have success in the Google Ads platform. Why? Because if you could identify where the customers that are worth 10 times what the average customer are worth on Google Ads, you could basically by default win big on Google Ads, given that the entire rest of your market that you're competing against on Google Ads is going to be only willing to pay so much for a customer. So there's a roof on how high the clicks can go, given it is a bidding system. People are going to therefore only pay so much for a click for the keywords that you want to target. And that, same thing with, by the way, if you're running Google Display Network or YouTube ads, there's only so much people are willing to pay for a view or an ad impression. When you identify and you have, like, you got ability to see in the dark here, if we're a hunter, you can see where those big time customers are and just go for them. You can actually spend twice as much as what they're willing to pay for a click and still make shitloads of money on top of it. Or in general, or in spite of high click costs in your space, and most people only making modest returns coming through the Google Ads because it's hyper competitive. The space is the ad space is hyper competitive. So you could use this information to simply just scoop the cream off the top out of Google Ads and just have the best customers that are the most profitable and just only go for them because you don't want to work so hard in your business, so to say. Or you could use it to make a hell of a lot more profit, given that you'll be able to bid higher in the situations where a whale customer is coming through, so you guaranteed are able to get them, essentially. And then add that to the rest of the customers that you would get through Google Ads that still can be profitable, but you know that you're not going to spend as much per click for those exact people. My general advice to you and my philosophy of how I'm always doing things, everything on Google Ads has its price. There's a certain cost per click or cost per ad impression for one person over another, one search over another, one website over another if you're running display ads. And your job as an advertiser to make the most possible money out of the ad platform is just to assess what is the value of each one of those places you can run ads and bid the maximum you can to get the maximum clicks you can, where you do not go over the minimum threshold or the threshold where the ads now become unprofitable, or the ROI is under a certain minimum level that you find is acceptable in your business. And through the power of ad tracking, all of this becomes very, very clear what you could pay for a click. And so it's not a matter of if you will make money with Google Ads, it's just a matter of how much. How many clicks can you get at the cost per click that's still affordable to your business? And that's really it at the end of the day. Figuring out what a click, you should want to pay for a click, and then setting all your ads to pay for that cost per click, and your ads just do what they do, and they're going to make money from now on. So with that said, like I said, you'll make 3 times, well, just to put it into perspective, you will make at least 3 times more money with Google Ads if you understand how to assess where the big customers are and spending more money from them. Whether that be a whale customer that's going to spend $1 million in terms of the contract size versus 100,000 being your average contract size that comes through Google Ads, or you're talking about a customer that's going to be coming in for life for the next 25 years versus somebody who's going to come in once, because obviously that could be a total game changer as well. So there's a way to essentially tell Google, hey, here's the big time customers. I want to spend 3 times as much for a click so I can get every last click I can for those people. And these customers over here that are just so-so, I'll still take them, but they're not nearly what the big guys are worth. I'm willing to spend a third as much for a click. So if you can get me clicks at that third of the rate, I'll take them. Or I'll take as many as you'll give me at 1/3 the cost per click. Whereas I'm willing to pay full price over here for the big customers because I want every last customer you got like that possible. That's how you're going to make the most money out of Google Ads. So I'm going to go through what this methodology is to actually set that up for your business, start to finish. So the main thing to know about Google Ads nowadays is that it's a system entirely driven on data and machine learning. Machine learning being, if you don't know what this is already, really humans learn through process of elimination. When you're a kid, you touch the hot stove, you figure it out, then the stove is hot, don't touch it again. And through experiences, through our life, we learn what works, what doesn't work. And that's the basis of all of the knowledge that we have and how we do things. Algorithms, apologize for that, algorithms and computers have been set up nowadays with AI and to go with it, machine learning to operate the same way. Through brute force and trial and error, they can learn anything if you feed it and give it the opportunity to learn and go through iterations of every which way something can be done. It'll find out the best way to do things. Okay? So with that said, you run your Google Ads account, you feeding in data to your Google Ads account, your ad account performance is completely predicated nowadays on that data that you're feeding in. A lot of people think that if they're selling red shoes and all they got to know is what keywords to show up for, like if you're talking about search ads here by itself, and they're already good. And that's as far from the truth as it gets because Google breaks down the person that searches for red shoes thousands of times and understands which people that search for red shoes buy versus don't buy. Okay? And specifically for you as a business versus other people who want to also bid on red shoes. So the data you feed in tells Google when your ad should show up for red shoes and when it shouldn't. And then therefore, the better data that you give Google about who buys from you, the better results you're going to get out the other side. Google wants to get you the results because ultimately, I know it's hard a little bit to believe, but ultimately, at the end of the day, Google makes more money when people are willing to click on ads more so, right? People are willing to click on ads more so if they get overall a better experience when they look at and click through ads. So Google's system is set up on all the time to be on the lookout for the advertisers that do a good job serving their users better than the people that are there already, okay? And it's never so cut and dry. Like I explained before, some people that search for red shoes, they want your shoes because it's women's shoes, and somebody else, that searched for red shoes, they were looking for male shoes, and then they figure that out through this so-called machine learning. But bottom line at the end of the day, you're feeding in data about the exact people who buy from you and buy a lot. And the better the data you feed in, the better the results you can get out of Google Ads. They're trying to figure out people that actually want to buy from you so that users as a whole on Google get a better experience or as good an experience as possible because they're tailoring the ads to what people actually want. As a result of that, you're making more money because you're paying for less clicks from people that ultimately either don't buy or don't buy as much. If don't buy as much if you feed data Google that data about who doesn't buy so-called as much. And we're not talking about just initial transaction size for like an e-commerce site now. We're talking about big deals where you're generating leads and you want big contracts or people that come in many, many times to buy from you in the future. Let's say if you ran a day spa, it's the person who goes every week to the day spa and has for the last 15 years that you can obviously if you can get that person off of Google, come to your place, that's massive for your business, for every one of those you can get. But you have to be able to tell Google the difference between one customer who buys once and a person who buys 100 times. That's where your real results come in. That's where you're going to make 3 times plus more money from Google Ads as a whole. And the way that you do that is you're feeding in data about who buys from you 100 times versus once. Ultimately, with Google, when we're talking about repeat customers, they only allow you to update them about people that come through the Google Ads that you get up to 90 days. So you have to one customer that's going to buy 100 times from you over the next 15 years and a person who buys from you once, what you got to do is tell Google not about every purchase that they made, but you got to make a prediction about how much that person's likely to spend in the future based upon what information you have from the customers that come in, and then feed that data back to Google Ads so they understand the difference between the two. When you're talking about people who buy once and there being a big difference between one customer and another, that $1 million contract versus the 100,000 average contract that you get, it's about feeding Google data about the actual contract sizes that you got coming through. And because a lot of those bigger contracts don't close right away, it's feeding information about the likelihood of, somebody who's likely to sign and the size of the contract. Or in that situation, it's mainly just what was the person quoted, not the fact that it closed. Why? Because, contracts that are, that come in that are quoted out at $1 million, those are the ones we obviously want coming in. Whether or not they close is irrelevant. We just want bigger contracts because those ultimately are probably going to have maybe not the same close rates as the contracts that quote out at 100,000, but they're 10 times as much money. So you're going to make way more money quoting those out versus the $100,000 contracts. But again, Google can't help you get what you want, which is the bigger contracts, if you will, unless you feed them in the right information. Ultimately, what works for you, what works for Google, what works for the end user, you have to give Google feedback to understand what the customer is doing with you that's positive, so that they can, in the future, put your ads in front of people that are more likely to be your type of customer that you want to deal with, so to say. And that's how the system works. So if you want more of a certain type of customer on Google Ads, you need to tell them what you want. They can't mind read. Okay? The way that you do this is as follows. First off, way of the 4 ways you can do this is through customer lists. Now, this is actually against Google's technical data policies, but, hypothetically, I know people that do this and it worked extremely well. If all you wanted was, let's say, leads to come in from people that have 1,000 or more employees, like we had somebody who sold construction software. There's a lot of construction companies that are small. This software, really only worked for bigger companies, and they more so just wanted bigger companies along with that, we'll just say. And so what we had to do is figure out how to get the leads of the people that had 1,000 employees or more. Well, there's no setting inside Google Ads that let you just filter out everybody looking for construction software that has 1,000 employees or more. So what do? Well, in this particular case, we were able to go find all the email addresses of all the people at these construction companies that are over 1,000 employees and upload it to Google. And then within that, we could set the keyword bids real low, like 10% of what it usually takes to show up on the first page. And then take the audience that we made from that email list, add it to the audiences via our search campaigns, because you can add audiences to your search campaigns to apply a bid adjustment. So if people match a certain audience, you can actually bid more for it. And in that case, we do a plus 900% bid adjustment. So effectively, the ad is now only going to show up for people on Google now when they type in construction software if they're on that original email list. And if they're not on the original email list of people that work at 1,000 plus employee construction companies, they're effectively not going to see the ad. Therefore, we're basically guaranteeing in this case, this is the only guaranteed method out of the 4 that there is, that you get the whale customers. This guarantees if a person does respond, they are of the size that you want, they are a whale. And that's one way to optimize for whales through Google Ads, which isn't really optimizing, it's just putting into plan of action what will guarantee you the quality of lead or customer that you want to come in the door through Google Ads. So that's one way to do it. If you do this, worst case scenario, your audience list gets disapproved for violating data policies, your ad account will be totally fine. And you'll probably be able to do it for at least a year or 2, which, by the way, gives you plenty of time to implement these other systems that take a little bit longer and then just move to using that instead. Of which you're basically, when a customer comes in that's of the size you want, i.e. that is a whale, you just tell Google, okay, that particular customer is a whale, but obviously you need 100 whales for them to understand, what makes a whale, and to push your ads in that general direction. So in the meantime, you can use the customer list method that I mentioned, which is not really a customer list. You're telling Google it's customers. Really, it's people that are prospects that you want to have the ad show up for, which is where the data violation comes in, because you're not supposed to be able to target somebody who ain't a customer. So anyway, with that said, though, before I talk about when a whale comes through, identifying it, telling Google that was a whale, so you get more whales. Before I get into that, the other second method you can use to push your ad account to get the whale customers you truly want, that are where the real money is you can use demographic/audience adjustments. So you can, on your search campaigns or display campaigns or YouTube campaigns, go into audiences. You can do a bid adjustment for male versus female, old versus young, rich versus poor, parent versus not parent. And when you're talking about on the audience level, it's unlimited. You could be bidding more or less for somebody who likes drinking coffee or not drinking coffee, or likes Big Macs or doesn't like Big Macs, and you can do this. Problem is, though, unless you know inside and out your whale customer, what their tendencies are, what their likes and dislikes are, you can't effectively steer the ads in the direction that you want to only get the whale customers, or put you in a position to spend more to get a whale customer so you get more of them, like I was saying before. And so what you would do is you take all the whale customers you do have, assuming you have them already. If you don't have whale customers already, then you may certainly only be so good at doing this, because you could kind of already guess a whale customer is probably 45 plus or whatever, and you can make some adjustments, like, eyeballing it, if you will, for lack of better words. But you could go to Axicom with your email address list of all the whale customers you've had in the past, and say, give me back all of the traits that you have on these emails that match up. So in other words, if there's a trait that you track, which there's 40,000 individual data points that they track on users across the country and in other countries as well, ones that match up more than once, I want you to tell me what those traits are, because with those traits, you can identify with the audiences, with the demographic filtering and stuff on your campaigns on Google Ads, you can actually narrow down your ads to show up for only those people who have those same traits. So you may certainly find that somebody who, is on your list of people that you've dealt with in the past that have been a whale, they like magic for some reason. Well, now we can go ahead and upload, add magic as an audience and bid 900% more for people who like magic. You follow me? So literally speaking, you just give them the email list at Axicom. They'll tell you exactly what makes the people on your list unique. And, obviously stuff that matches up where there's two people that had the same interest or like or dislike or whatever is good. 3 is better. 4 is even better. 5 is good. And so what you're really trying to do, and it obviously depends on how big your list is. If your list is only 100 people, well, you're only going to get the opportunity to find things where 2 things match up. Whereas if you had a list of 100,000, you could find things where 5 individual people on the list at least had that same trait. The more data, the more accurate you're going to be able to be with, using this method to steer your ads in the direction of getting whales in the future. So that would be one way you can go about getting and optimizing your campaigns to get more whales, or to just only get whales with your account, in case you only can deal with whales like that construction company I talked about before, respectively, for the most part. Anyway, the third method here goes back to on what I was talking about before, which is you set up your conversion tracking inside your ad account to track whether somebody is a whale versus a non-whale, okay? And the best way to do this, if you're generating leads, is have a CRM system and having a field inside your CRM system that says whale or non-whale. And when somebody is marked whale, then you ultimately, whether you do it through Google's API or through manual spreadsheet uploading, because you can do it that way as well, every single whale that comes in, you're feeding that information back. So you just got to basically capture the Google Click ID when the lead comes in, whether that be through the phone or through the contact form on your site or landing page. And when that person's by the salesperson presumably marks it as a whale, then that particular GCL ID you captured with that lead gets fed back to Google, and then now you can see in the keyword menu, the audience menu, the age menu, gender menu, how many of those whale customers were male versus female, old versus young, and so forth, so you can then dial in your bidding manually, but also, more importantly, the Google Ads system and their algorithm is going to understand it. So then at that point in time, and usually it's about 30 data points. So if you had 30 whale customers come through, or people that look like a whale, we'll just say, whether they closed or not, that's not even relevant. You can actually go into your campaign menu of your campaigns you're running and set the goal settings to optimize for people who have triggered that particular conversion, which you've got set up to, whether they're a whale customer or not. So the conversion is they're a whale. And then you set up the campaign to optimize for that conversion, which represents whether that person was confirmed as a whale or not. And so, because with the conversion tracking and then the different custom attributes you can do with conversion tracking in Google Ads, you can track anything you want. You don't have to track whether somebody was a sale or not or whatnot. You can actually track anything. Was that customer a good customer, a bad customer? Are they likely to be worth a lot or a little? And as long as it's really up to your creativity what you track. In this case, you're just tracking whether that customer is a whale or not, and then having that information passed to Google Ads so that in your campaigns menu, your ads menu, all the different dimensions in your account, you can go ahead and what they call split rows and see how many whale customers came in from each individual data point, so you can then steer your ads. You may just make some judgment call to cut off certain parts of your account right away before the algorithm comes to the conclusion to put a hard stop on certain ages. Sorry about that, we have some construction going on. Google could put a hard stop on some ages, genders, and so on and so forth. And so ultimately just either all of the people that don't match the profile of a whale are weeded out, or should I say that you're getting every last whale you can, whereas before you were only getting so many, because if you bid more per click across all of your ads universally, then your ROI would go down under a certain minimum level. So that's how you could do the optimization for whale customers, and that's the most effective long-term at least, but the problem is you need a lot of data, and so you might have to go ahead and do these other things first, like I was mentioning before. And the final way to optimize for whale customers with Google Ads is to train the algorithm using customer lists. I wish Google would provide us a way with all campaign types to train the algorithm, because in AI and machine learning, the way that people do come up with AI is they train the algorithm. They feed sample data in. And then the algorithm learns so that when you go into a practical environment to run the AI, it's already trained, if you will. So you have to train it in a real environment. You can train it with sample data. As it comes to Google Ads, though, they only have one campaign type where you can actually give it sample data to train the algorithm, and that is PMAX, because they have audience signals, which are not targeting options, but it's basically like saying, here's some information, Google, to run this campaign that will help you. And then if you upload a customer list that's just whale customers, it can look at the whale customer list, draw the conclusions as to what makes a whale customer unique, similar to I mentioned how Axicom is going to do it, because ultimately Google tracks affinity segments and interests and stuff like that. Can find the correlations between all the whale customers that you've uploaded in terms of the email address list or cell phone number list, which is what you can also do to upload customers to Google Ads system. And then your PMAX campaign is going to start obviously right away because you already gave it that big list, optimizing for whale customers more than it had before. And of course, when you could do this at the beginning and then on top of it, feed in any more whale customers you got to give it positive feedback. Like, you give it so much data at the beginning, it knows what it knows. Then there's still some trial and error that they have to do to figure out how to really get it dialed into the whale customers you want, or to get the most you can. And then that's where the conversion data comes into the ad account where you're giving it the so-called offline conversion data about whether somebody was a whale or non-whale to add to whatever you were able to train the campaign to do through the sample data, the sample whale customer list you provided that PMAX campaign under the audience signals itself, if that makes sense. So me personally though, just to tell you as a side, I do not use PMAX campaigns ever to run campaigns in Google Ads unless it's for e-commerce businesses, specifically to run shopping ads, because PMAX will run a shopping campaign more efficient, more profitable overall than a regular standard shopping campaign will. I don't know why necessarily it does that other than the machine learning behind PMAX campaigns are better than what standard shoppings provide, which is basically what I think it is. But in that case, you have to run a feed-only setup. You can watch my video about feed-only PMAX campaigns if you're interested in that. And if you are running a feed-only PMAX campaign to run the best possible shopping ads you can actually feed in that whale customer list so that Google can make the ads only show up for people that are whale customers, or at least more often for the whale customers than you had before, given that, there's a thing called search impression share that, tells you whether you show up 100% of the time for a certain search or a certain person, or, is it 50% of the time or 30% of the time. And Google's always trying to do their own testing on their end to decide if your ad should show up or somebody else's ad or whatever. And if you feed in the whale customer data, then naturally, then it'll try to go more so for that in the future, if you will. So, and then on top of it, in terms of the PMAX, if you're going to feed in the whale customer data to really take advantage of this, if you're going to do this, that ultimately you're going to understand if you get that whale customer, they're not just worth what they're worth, they're actually worth a lot more because they're going to have a lot of future business coming in, presumably. You should figure out what a whale customer spends with you versus a non-whale customer, and then set your target ROAS for that PMAX campaign lower so that you're going to get more out of it. Because if you don't toggle that, given that, you're not going to get anything out of what you're doing, basically. So you're willing to take less ROI because, on the back end, the ROI is going to, the repeat purchases is going to bring the ROI up to a minimum level anyway, if you will. So in that case, what I would do is I'd have two PMAX campaigns, one that just runs and tries to optimize for front-end revenue, and then a second campaign that just tries to optimize for whale customers, given the whale customer campaign is probably going to take some time to really get dialed in properly, in which you set the target ROAS lower. And then, of course, on the back end, you can track the customers that come from each campaign. If you're using a Shopify store, let's say there's lifetime value tracking tools, and you can track lifetime value of a customer based upon one campaign versus another campaign, and then see for yourself, is the lifetime value of a customer coming from your whale campaign better than the non-whale campaign, to see if the target ROAS and the amount that you lowered it is the ideal amount, because you may find the lifetime value of a customer from your whale campaign and the customers that brought in is 10 times what the other campaign is. And so instead of lowering the target ROAS from the original campaign from 800 to 500% ROAS, maybe you lower it from 800% to 200% so you get more out of that campaign, if that makes sense. Because it's all about running your ads more aggressively for the people that are more likely to be super profitable, so you get more of them. That's really what this is all about at the end of the day, unless you can only deal with the whale customer like the construction company I was talking about earlier. And in that case, it's about obviously only getting the whale customer. As you're talking, though, about e-commerce, that doesn't really work, or that mostly doesn't apply. It's not like there's not a situation where if they aren't a whale, you don't want them buying from you, given that the price of the product is right there showing up next to the ad. But, for the most part, you would want any customer that clicks through and sees your ad and wants to click through, because they're all going to be profitable. And of course, yes, you're going to want bigger customers, but you would still take the smaller customers in that case. But anyway, I'll wrap it up with that. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment or question on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. I can tell you, by the way, bottom line, this is the best information you're going to find about how to make millions of dollars with your ads online, as it comes from
a person who does ad strategy all day long, 40 hours a week on dozens of ad accounts to give you the information I'm giving you on this channel. Everything else you're going to find on YouTube, mostly everything else sorry about that, you're going to find on YouTube as well as online for that matter is going to be secondhand information, people who don't do ad strategy, they just talk about it or they sell courses. And so therefore you want to subscribe to this channel and you want to subscribe to it right now if you're serious about making money online, running ads for your business. I also, by the way, have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog where you can find other information for myself on how to make money, more so step by step with visuals. If you like the channel, you're going to love the blog. I promise you that you're going to like it even more than the channel. That said, if you're looking for somebody to just get you the results, do all the heavy lifting, this is exactly what I do for clients at our firm here. And we do not charge our clients fees up front until we get you a certain minimum lift in your profitability from your ads up front or to a certain level with this new campaign if we're starting something up new. That said, we don't take just any client or just give any client that offer. We got to know we can get great results for your campaigns and business up front. But if you want to see if we can work together and you can be one of our clients here at our agency, reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. I'd be more than happy to give you an estimate on how much sales results we can get you in addition to what you already have and what can be done with ads online for your business using the strategies we talk about in this channel and all done for you coming from somebody who's been doing them for a long, long, long time. So anyway, and then with that though, if you're not looking to work with an agency, which a lot of people don't, I understand, we also sell ad templates that work for 100 plus different niche markets that we've worked in before. That is, if we've worked in your niche market, you're a plumber, let's say, we've worked in the plumbing space for years, you can use the exact ads, landing page templates, campaign templates, everything that we use to get phenomenal results in your space. Literally just copy paste everything we've done in your market in a different geographic area into your account and then get the same results we are with none of the work, time, money that we had to spend to figure out exactly what works the best in your space. There's no way you're going to save money or time doing everything on your own when we already done what we've done in your space for years and spent a lot of times 7 figures in ad spend to figure out what works the best in your market. So you should definitely reach out to us and at least see if we've worked in your market already, because that would save you tons of time and money. Just get in the working version of what we have that as long as you're in a different geographic area as our past client or current client, there's no reason why you can't use those. By the way, we got people using these templates to start other businesses. If you want to, as sure as way possible to make money in an e-commerce business, use a template that we've got to sell products in a different geographic area, a different country, basically, bottom line, that you can use in your country to get turnkey results. We got people that are also using our templates to generate leads because they generate leads for so cheap. They can sell those leads to people in that niche area, that niche market, and have a passive income business that's ready to go right out of the box. So I just wanted to state that we got a lot of people just using these templates for those other reasons as well. But you can reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com to find out if we worked in your niche market and if so, what results we have. But I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on my next video where we have another great strategy for you then. See you later.